Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into a fascinating topic. It's one of the internet's biggest comparison themes, right?
Absolutely.
We're looking at video content, comparing, get this, a $5,000 a month lifestyle in the U.S. versus just $1,000 a month in Vietnam.
Yeah, and our sources here aren't just, someone's budget spreadsheet. This is based on deep market research.
Really mapping the kind of collective financial anxiety out there.
Exactly. It's less about travel tips and more about, it's a window into the audience's psychology, isn't it? This whole comparison thing is basically a content goldmine because it hits these deep, often unspoken financial pain points, especially for people in, high-cost countries like the U.S.
So people aren't just looking for a cheap holiday.
No, not at all. The research shows they're searching for something more fundamental, a lifestyle fix maybe, a way off that feeling of being on a financial treadmill.
Okay, let's unpack that then. I mean, most people listening probably get that the U.S. is expensive. But what's the core emotional thing driving this specific comparison? The $5,000 versus $1,000. Why is that so sticky?
Well, the main driver seems to be this pretty profound disillusionment, particularly around the whole idea of the American dream. Is it still attainable?
Right.
Our sources point to data showing, a big drop in optimism, especially among Gen Z and millennials. For a lot of them, that old promise, work hard, buy a house, save comfortably, it just feels, out of reach.
That makes sense. It's a huge macro trend driving clicks.
Totally.
And the sources really paint a picture of that struggle, don't they?
Yeah.
Earning $5,000 a month in, say, San Francisco or New York. It sounds okay on paper, but it can leave you feeling constantly stressed.
Oh, definitely.
Because the fixed costs, rent, healthcare, maybe student loans, they just eat up so much of it. So you're making decent money, but you're still like one unexpected bill away from trouble.
And that's the paradox, right? That's what the really successful content taps into. Our data backs this up. The cost of living difference is huge. We're talking roughly 307% higher in the U.S. than Vietnam for one person.
Wow, 307%?
Yeah. So imagine you could take even a part of that $5,000 U.S. income, maybe just $1,000, and live on that in Vietnam. Suddenly, that budget gives you a genuinely comfortable life.
Comfortable how? Like, what does that actually look like?
Well, think frequent meals out, maybe weekly massages, travel within the region. You actually feel richer. Richer than the person back in the U.S. making $5,000 but barely scraping by in a shared apartment.
So it completely flips the script on wealth. It's not about net worth on paper. It's about purchasing power and time freedom.
Time freedom is a huge one.
So who specifically is looking for this? The sources seem to break down the audience pretty clearly.
Yeah, they do. And a smart content strategy needs to hit basically three distinct groups. First, you've got the young professionals, 20s, maybe 30s. They're often looking for rapid financial independence. They're typing in things like, can I live on $1,000 a month in Vietnam? They see it as a potential fast track, maybe becoming a digital nomad, living minimally.
Right, the digital nomad dream.
And then second, you have families, maybe 30s to 50s. Their concerns are, they're higher value, more complex.
Like what?
Often it's education costs. If they're thinking of moving kids, suddenly they're researching international school fees. And those can be steep, upwards of $35,000 a year per child sometimes.
Whoa. Okay, so that changes the whole equation. They need content that tackles that complexity, not just living cheap.
Exactly. And the third group, retirees, 55 plus. For them, it's mostly about stability.
Makes sense. Healthcare, fixed income.
Precisely. They're focused on sustainable healthcare costs and making sure their savings last. Their searches are usually much more serious, focused on, long-term safety nets.
So if that underlying pain is so deep, this disillusionment with the $5K grind, how does that translate into what people actually type into Google or YouTube?
Okay. So that takes us right into the search game. And this is where it gets interesting. Broad stuff like cost of living Vietnam, that's super crowded, very competitive.
Right. Too generic.
Yeah. The real opportunity, what the experts are calling content gaps, lies in the long tail keywords. The ones that show someone is serious, they're doing their homework.
Okay. So pivot from the broad facts to these niche searches. What kind of long tail keywords are showing up as high value, but maybe less competitive?
Well, you need to look at searches that go beyond just dreaming. They're about planning, logistics, figuring out the risks.
Like what specifically?
Things like tax checklist for U.S. citizens living in Vietnam, or international health insurance options for expats, even really specific risk-focused searches like medical evacuation costs.
Those sound serious.
They are. They show high intent. Someone searching that is probably closer to making a decision, which means higher conversion potential for the content creator, maybe through affiliates or products.
Now, here's something I found really interesting in the source analysis. The successful channels, they don't just paint this rosy picture. They actually tackle the skepticism head on, right?
Yes. Absolutely crucial.
Doesn't showing the downsides, the challenges, kind of undercut that initial shock value we talked about?
You'd think so, but it actually builds trust. And trust is key for long-term retention. You see these high-performing videos with the titles like, "Cost of living in Vietnam was cheap. Now it's a trap."
Okay, so it leans into the doubt.
Exactly. It acknowledges the viewer isn't naive. They need nuance. The strategy that seems to work best is what you might call realistic optimism.
Realistic optimism. I like that.
Yeah. You have to acknowledge the real challenges. Visas can be tricky. There's bureaucracy, maybe a language barrier. But then, crucially, you immediately follow up with clear, practical solutions, based on solid advice. You're not selling some simplistic fantasy.
That makes total sense. Trust really is currency online. Okay, so once they get that click, maybe with a clever title or a compelling thumbnail, how do they keep people watching? Let's talk retention.
Right, the attention economy. It absolutely has to start with the hook. That first, 3 to 8 seconds, it needs to be a pattern interrupt.
Pattern interrupt.
Yeah, something that grabs you immediately. In the U.S. market especially, it needs shock value and a promise that you're going to see proof.
What kind of hooks work best?
The most powerful is often an immediate, really stark visual comparison.
Like showing a tiny, cramped U.S. apartment closet next to this big, airy living room in Hanoi for a fraction of the price.
Exactly that. And this is key for credibility, initiating what some call a show receipt moment right away.
Show receipt? You mean literally flash a receipt on screen?
Yes, because the core idea, $1 beats $5 for lifestyle, sounds almost too good to be true, right? People are naturally skeptical, especially about money claims online. So to build that authority instantly, you might flash a real rent receipt, for a nice 1-bedroom in a good area of Hanoi, clearly showing the price, maybe around $335 a month. Bam! Shock and evidence right there in the first few seconds.
Okay, that's powerful. So you've hooked them. How do you stop them from clicking away after a minute?
Constant pattern interrupts. That's the key to sustaining retention. You can't let the viewer's attention settle. You need changing visuals, B-roll footage cutting in, maybe infographics popping up, text overlays emphasizing key points.
How often?
Ideally, some kind of visual or auditory shift every 15 to 30 seconds. It sounds like a lot, but it keeps the brain engaged.
And this isn't just random editing, is it? The successful videos, they seem to follow a pretty clear structure.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like a formula, a blueprint for keeping people engaged in long-form content.
What's the structure look like?
It usually goes hook first, obviously. Then a very brief roadmap, just setting expectations, telling viewers what's coming. Then the main detailed breakdown. And this is where those real receipts and invoices for housing, food, utilities are absolutely critical.
Proof again.
Always proof. Then importantly, an honest segment on the caveats and risks, visas, taxes, healthcare concerns. Got to address those. And finally, a conclusion with actionable advice, summarizing the trade-offs.
So it's this blend of hard data, like the receipts, but also personal storytelling.
Yes, that's the magic combination. You need the analysis, but you also need the human element. Not just abstract budgets, but maybe a quick story. Like the single parent in the U.S. drowning in student loans versus the digital nomad in Vietnam who feels genuinely free on way less money. That connection makes it stick.
Right. And optimizing the packaging is huge too, I assume. Titles, thumbnails.
Oh, massively. Titles need numbers. They need a clear promise. Something like $5,000 US versus $1,000 Vietnam. The ultimate financial freedom breakdown. Very direct.
And thumbnail.
High contrast. Usually a close-up face showing emotion, maybe shock or excitement. And just 3 to 5 big, bold words like $1,000 shock and chalk or financial freedom is real. Something that just pops on the screen.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to the business side. This niche geo-arbitrage international finance, it apparently has a pretty high RPM, right? Higher ad revenue per 1,000 views.
Generally, yes. The audience often has higher disposable income or more importantly, high intent to spend on solutions related to moving or managing money internationally.
So how do creators actually capitalize on that? How do they maximize revenue beyond just YouTube ads?
Smart creators diversify because the audience is actively researching things they need to buy, like insurance, ways to transfer money. Affiliate marketing is huge in this space.
So linking to specific services.
Exactly. Recommending and linking to international health insurance providers they trust, or money transfer services like Wise, maybe even crypto platforms like Coinbase if relevant. And then they often leverage their expertise by selling their own digital products.
Like the checklists or ebooks you mentioned.
Precisely. Things the audience needs right now if they're serious about making the move. An expat tax checklist, maybe super detailed city guides, guides on opening bank accounts overseas. People are willing to pay for information that reduces risk and saves them time.
Makes sense. But this financial niche, it must be tricky territory for staying on the right side of YouTube's rules and keeping advertisers happy, right? To keep that high RBM, you can't get demonetized.
It's a massive tightrope walk. You have to be incredibly careful with language.
What are the big no-nos?
Okay, definitely avoid absolute inflammatory statements. Things like, America is a scam, or Vietnam is always better. That's asking for trouble. And crucially, avoid anything that sounds like you're encouraging illegal activity words like tax haven or making financial or medical guarantees. That's a red flag for advertisers.
So instead of absolutes, the successful creators use more cautious language.
Exactly. They use conditional language. Phrases like, depending on your situation, this might allow you. They constantly talk about trade-offs. And they absolutely must include clear disclaimers. This isn't financial advice. Consult a professional. The goal is to position yourself as a trusted guide, someone who analyzes complex options, shares experiences, but doesn't sell a risk-free, unrealistic dream. Be an analyst, not a guru.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, synthesizing everything we've dug into, what's the core winning strategy here?
I think it comes back to that phrase, realistic optimism. You absolutely have to deliver that shocking truth, the $1,000 potentially buying more lifestyle freedom than $5,000 in a major U.S. city. That's the hook.
Yeah.
But then you immediately back it up with solid, expert-informed, actionable solutions for the very real risks and challenges involved.
It's a fascinating look at how content taps into deep societal shifts.
Yeah.
And this deep dive, it really forces you, the listener, to think about a fundamental choice, doesn't it? It goes way beyond just comparing rent prices.
Yeah.
The real decision these videos are exploring, it's not just $5,000 versus $1,000. It's this core trade-off. Do you prioritize the potentially high financial growth and earnings that the U.S. system can offer? Or do you trade that potential for immediate lifestyle freedom, less financial stress, and more personal time, which the lower cost model might provide? It really makes you define for yourself right now which asset is truly more valuable in your life, money or time.